The Real Freedom Podcast solo edition today, guys. I could not wait. I wanted to record this episode. This is Saturday, December 21st. We've gotten 7 contracts in the last 6 days, and I'm going to tell you why this is not a secret and that it could be costing you 6 figures or more to take it easy during this key holiday period that we call separation season. While everybody else takes off, you can push the gas and get a massive amount of contracts, get huge deals, boost your 2025 revenue, and kickstart your path to financial freedom. Stay tuned. This is going to be all about how to dominate your winter market. I'm going to give you guys a peek behind the curtain into our business on why December, January, and February are always our biggest months for off-market deals. That's right. That is completely contrary to the retail market, which is usually spring and summer. So we're going to talk about why that is. I'm going to show you guys some of our data the last few years, and then we're going to end with 2 additional tips of 2 maybe under the radar or secret strategies, if you will, that are really crushing it for us right now that I don't see a lot of other people doing. So you won't want to miss this one. Stay tuned. So let's set the stage here, and I promise I'll bring this full circle, so stick with me. I have to paint a picture of the context because this may not apply to your market. You'll have to see within your own data. If you're in the Southeast, if you're in the Midwest, if you're in one of these cheaper price point areas, this may not apply to you. Our market is Boise, Idaho, so it's very volatile. It's highly seasonal. It's common to see 10 to 15% price differences from fall and winter to spring and summer. We're talking on the retail market. The median price point right now in Boise is just over $550,000. So we're not quite as expensive as Denver. We fall right in line with like a Salt Lake City, just with a significantly less population. Population of Boise, Idaho and the surrounding areas is right around 1 million people. So real estate as a whole nationally is seasonal, right? Most people want to transact in spring and summer. It lines up with the school calendar. You don't want to move in the middle of the school year, disrupt your kids and all their friends. Plus, it's a little bit warmer outside. It's just more convenient. There's less hassle in the spring and summer. So that is peak selling season. That's when prices are highest. Now, if you're in one of these markets like Boise, Idaho, that has a little bit harsher conditions in winter, you're going to see this seasonality component even more pronounced. This year is going to be no different. In fact, we're betting heavily into marketing that it'll be even more top heavy. It'll be even more seasonal than years past, and I'm going to explain why. Here's some data for you. So far in 2024, we've signed 130 contracts, and we've got 10 days left at the time this is recording. We're closing at a 73% rate, meaning roughly 1 out of every 4 contracts we're canceling. That is above industry standard, but not up to our target of 80%. I've heard a lot of other companies and in our masterminds talking about how this year, especially because it's been an election year, leads are way down. So your top end of your funnel, less people are reaching out to you, especially for inbound channels right now. For us, we've seen a 60% decline in Q4 in inbound channels. Yikes, 60% decline. Now, on the flip side of that, we also do quite a high clip of outbound marketing, cold calling and SMS. In our business, we do a lot of outbound marketing too, texting and cold calling. For texting, leads are up by 20% for us with the same volume. So despite our inbound channels being down by 60%, our outbound channels are up by 20%. If you're a company purely relying on inbound leads during this time, you've definitely taken it on the chin. And I know that there's multiple people in Collective Genius and in our mastermind that we've talked to over the last few months about what are we going to do here. And just to zoom out, an inbound lead is somebody that's reaching out to you. They're filling out a web form. They're responding to a mail piece. They're picking up the phone and contacting you. So if we saw a 60% decline in lead volume and we were just sitting on our hands doing nothing, waiting for that phone to ring, we'd be in trouble. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Outbound is not dead. Texting is not dead. Whatever anybody tells you or whatever fear mongering you see on social media, it's not dying. It's not dead. It is a great way to get started. It's cheaper. It's a great way to supplement your leads when your inbound channel volume is down. All right, Ryan, I hear what you're saying, but why are inbound leads down and why are outbound leads up? Well, what do people do over the holidays? They have time off. They sit around. They spend time with family. That also means they answer the freaking phone, right? They're not working. They're not distracted. They're not as busy during this time. Usually people are taking more time off. So that means you should see an increased contact rate on your outbound channels. Conversely, with it being an election year, you're seeing a lot of people that are pressing pause right now or seeing what happens. And you pair that with high interest rates and all the news headlines of what's gone on in the last 3 months. It's scary for your average person. So are they going to reach out and take action if they're maybe on the fence or they're not sure or maybe they're early in their process? No, they're going to wait. They're going to wait till the start of the year. And then it's going to go bananas. So if you're watching this on the screen here, you should see a bar chart of our contracts signed by month dating back the last 2 years. Now, why is it only 2 years? Well, we made a big switch to Salesforce in 2022. So unfortunately, we lost a lot of our reliable data, but I say the word reliable in air quotes because it was during COVID. So that was Looney Tunes numbers, Looney Tunes contracts, not a normal market anyways. This is a real accurate reflection of why December, January, and February are our biggest contracts. The data shows it every single month. And then in December 2023, we jumped all the way up to 14 contracts signed in a month, followed by January of this year, 17 contracts, 13 contracts in February, 14 in March, and 9 in April, and then roughly 9 to 11 per month after that. But again, we saw that seasonal dip. In October 2024, we only got 5. In November 2024, we got 9. And now in December, we have 11 signed with 10 days left. So we're right on that same trajectory. There's a plateau, and then there's a big 2 to 3 month pop every year. And if I could show the 2022 data that we had, at that time, we were a way smaller team. We were doing anywhere from 3 to 5 contracts a month on average. So on good months, maybe we would have 6 to 8. On bad months, we would have like 2. So there's a leveling up process that goes about this. All to be said, in summary, we always see this blip seasonally, and I'm going to explain why, because it's very confusing. If I ask you, what are the best months for contracts? I guarantee you December, January, and February would be the last on everybody's list. So why is that? Why does that happen? This is where knowing your market is critical. So in your market, when do schools start and stop their summer vacation? This is absolutely critical. In Boise, it's second week of August, they go back to school. So right around end of July, you start seeing longer days on market. You start to see a lot more price reductions, a lot less buyer demand. So what happens to prices? They start gradually coming down. Now, if you're in a market where school doesn't go back in session until Labor Day, that's going to have a huge effect on seasonality and the snowball effect of not only your retail market, but your off-market avatar of who's going to sell a property at a discount. And I'll explain why. If you're listening or watching to this, you are probably plugged into the real estate market more than your average person. Homeowners that are considering big life changes still view August and maybe into September, at least through Labor Day, as summer. They're considering big life changes still. And herein lies the problem. They use values or comps from April, May, June, when prices were at their highest, to guide their decision making and their expectation setting for what they're going to get. You'll often hear this, well, my neighbor's house sold for this. How many times have we heard that at a seller appointment, right? And especially this time of year, this is when the gap starts to increase between the reality of what the market will pay for their property at retail and what they can actually get today. Because they're using peak pricing from 3 to 4 months ago, and we're using today's pricing. Well, what happens when there's a gap in expectations? 2 things. People are stubborn, and people buy and sell based on emotion, but then try to justify with logic, not the other way around. This is an emotional thing. They spend money before they have it. They start making plans before they have it, right? They count on something in their head, and they get this dream and this goal of what they're going to go do and how they're going to make the next step. And oftentimes that is not reality. At Offer Now Idaho, we're looking to hire A players to run our organization and help us grow our business. But in what other field can you be talking to people on a regular basis that need help? From losing everything, but that is finally in enough pain where they're ready to change their life. We're out there meeting with these people that need our help. Nobody else is there.
Some of the things that I'm honestly most proud of are the conversations where we had a tangible impact and didn't get the deal. I know that doesn't add to the bottom line, but it does help in reciprocity and putting goodwill out in the world. I was also an engineer, and I was so many levels removed from having a direct impact on an individual that if you've never had that experience and you're saying, well, I want to be able to look at my family members and said, here's the impact I've had, this is a position will allow you to do that. No matter what seat you're in, you can have a direct impact, and it is such a cool feeling that I didn't appreciate until it happened.
Right now, we have a $3,000 referral program. If you know somebody that's looking for a new role, we will pay you $3,000 once that person is hired by us and they hit their 90-day mark. So if you know of anybody that's looking for a new job or looking to change their life, shoot me a DM at RealRyanWeimer on Instagram.
Let's get it.
So what does your average person do? Well, if they think they can get $400 for the property and we can only pay $350, or maybe a realtor can list it for $375 or $380, what happens? Well, they still hold on to that false hope that their property will sell for more. They start making calls. Maybe they meet with a bunch of realtors. Maybe they meet with other investors. Maybe they list it. Maybe they convince themselves they're going to remodel it themselves to get a higher price. They can't let go of that dream in the moment. And we've all been there. Maybe you've listed a car or a house for sale on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, or some kind of product or belonging that's near and dear to you that you wanted to get top price for. And maybe in your head, you wanted to get top price more because of the emotional meaning of it than the financial logic. When you have years or decades of memories and logistics and stuff in a property, selling that property for less than you think that you want in your head, again, this is not logical, this is completely emotional, is a losing proposition because you feel like you are doing yourself, maybe your loved ones, maybe your wife or husband, a disservice by selling it for less than you think you should be able to get. And the problem is, should doesn't equal reality. How often do you hear this from a friend or family member? I'm not taking a penny less than $400,000. That's what it's worth. 4 weeks later, no offers. I'm not taking a penny less than 380. More pain, more time. But the thing is, people that are in financial distress or have an underlying problem don't have time. Their situation gets worse with time, often rapidly. And now specifically, I'm describing the avatar of somebody that would sell a property off market at a discount because they need to. The debt mounts. The hoard accrues, vacant properties sit. What's the avatar of somebody that gets themselves into trouble or some kind of financial distress? It's typically someone who's procrastinated an issue, or we call it kicking the can down the road, for a very long time. And we see it time and time again. When people are making a decision based on emotion and not on logic, it's either death by 1,000 cuts or they're ready to do it right now. So why is this year going to be more seasonal than years past? Well, this was an election year. And the perception of the general public, whether it's right or wrong, think that whoever is elected president has a meaningful impact on them emotionally. They might think that it actually affects, their well-being and their taxes and how much things cost at the grocery store, but it doesn't. It affects them way more emotionally than it actually does in real life. There's a lot of people out there that think the president has a huge impact on interest rates for mortgages or prices at the grocery store or the price of gas at the pump. And that's just not true. Usually it takes years for fiscal policy or other policies that the president put in place during their term to see the benefits and rewards of that spill into the next president's term, which is ironic. So it's funny that the next president actually gets credit for the prior president's policies for at least the first couple of years that they're in office. But okay, that's a side tangent. Instinctively, we're tribal as humans. And so we form groups, tribes, towns, cities. They provide strength, they provide safety, they provide security. So people want to live where other people share their same beliefs and values. If there's a perceived threat to that, people freeze. They don't want to make big life decisions because of it. It's also a built-in excuse to continue procrastinating whatever bad things are going on in their life or whatever financial issues they're dealing with. We experienced this firsthand basically from Labor Day all the way up to the election of, I'm not doing anything until after the election, even though it doesn't affect them in any way at all. And we heard this from a ton of leads in our funnel. I'm not doing anything until after the election. I'm going to wait and see what happens. Even though it has no meaningful impact on their life or their decision whatsoever, it's just a built-in excuse. So what's going to happen when all these people that are delaying, but there's a huge financial cost, huge pain cost to doing that? What's going to happen? Well, when you pair that with what's happening over the holidays, like we said before, with people getting time off, Aunt Sheila comes over for Thanksgiving and asks you, why haven't you sold the property yet? Or maybe you and your wife look at the money saved up for Christmas and realize you don't have enough to buy gifts for the kids. Life has been too busy to do this ahead of time. So these holidays, these periods of pause give people the space to reflect. And that's when they make big decisions. And mixed in with Aunt Sheila, everybody knows an Aunt Sheila at Thanksgiving. She's not invited again, right? So these seeds that you've planted back in August, September, October, November start to produce fruit in December and January. People reach their breaking point eventually. And again, this is not people that have no financial pain that are like, well, I want to move at the right time and I need to maximize the amount of money I get and I need to go upsize and buy a property elsewhere. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about people that are in distress, that have some underlying problem that they need to solve, because only people that have to sell in the winter do so. Nobody chooses to sell in between Christmas and New Year's unless they absolutely have to, unless they absolutely have a big problem on. So yes, lead volume is down, but the leads that do come in tend to be a lot more motivated. And our lead to appointment metric right now, it's taking a lot less leads to equal one appointment or one offer made than previously. So let's storytell on Gretchen. She was a PPC lead that came in on October 5th. She filled out a web form on our website, said, hey, I'm looking to sell a property. So we went and met with her. Well, Gretchen was in a divorce situation and the property needed a lot of work. It needed to be completely remodeled. It was barely livable. And because of this divorce, it had been vacant already for 2 months. So when we met with her and her divorced husband and their son at the property, who, by the way, was a contractor and likes to do handy stuff, the price that we could pay them wasn't enough of what they had in their head from, again, using April, May, June. My neighbor's property sold for this. There's a huge delta there. So the options that we provide, we said, why don't you just list it? Why don't you list it for sale by owner? Why don't you fix it up yourself? That's how you can get top dollar. Great. They didn't want to sign a contract for less than they thought they deserved or less than they thought it was worth. So what happened? The son committed to remodeling the property and completely fixing it up. Well, 2 months later, guess what happened? Guess how much work had actually been done at the property? Next to nothing. Next to nothing. And this happens all the time. If you're not following up with your leads, this is what happens. You meet with somebody, they have this expectation in their head of one thing. You leave with an action step. Great, you're going to fix up the property. Perfect. If you don't follow up, that lead, that opportunity sells to somebody else and you miss it. So we were there. We met with them again. They threw their hands up and they said, hey, this isn't going to work. He's not doing what he said he was going to do. We're just over this. We're ready to go. We're done. We want to have this over with. Their pain increased. They didn't have time to wait. The property was already vacant. It needed a bunch of work. Another one we got this week. This was actually a novation contract. This is a couple that bought at the peak of the market in Meridian, Idaho in 2022. They put a huge down payment down. And since then, their property value has declined, which we're hearing a lot of right now. People with high interest rates, the market has softened quite a bit. They're starting to feel the pinch financially of making that monthly payment. This was not a conventional loan. They actually bought this on seller finance from a friend or family member, and that balloon payment is due in October 2025. So these people are being a little bit more proactive. They're not in immediate pain, but they have to trade a little bit of equity for certainty, because what's going to happen if the market keeps declining? Nobody knows what's going to happen, and they have that balloon payment in October. They cannot refinance. Their debt to income is too high, so they have to sell. I'm going to leave you with 2 tips to implement today that's going to double your deal size going into 2025, okay? And it goes right back into this example of this novation. Longer, flexible closes. People want the certainty of signing something now with the flexibility of, I don't have to worry about where I'm going to go move or pack up all my stuff until spring or summer. So that works right in our favor with peak of the market, especially with novations where we're not the ones buying the property. We're listing it and marketing it on their behalf and making a spread in between. So this is a perfect marriage between you and your sellers. You're offering them what they want, and you also get to sell the property when it's at peak price. So we got that property under contract on a 6-month close. They're going to Australia for like a month and a half in January and February. They don't want to move prior to then. They're in no rush to do that. They have all the way until October. So we're not even going to advertise that property until likely March. And this is a real rookie mistake that I see with beginner wholesalers a lot of times, because they don't have enough liquidity in their bank account to withstand these long deal cycles. Not everybody wants a quick cash close. In fact, the thought of that for a lot of sellers adds way more stress to their situation. This is the perfect time of year to lock properties up on 3, 4, 5-month closing periods if it also benefits the seller. That's the key distinction there. If it also benefits the seller. But just from that tip alone, you can have a massive spring and summer by locking up these properties under contract now. And the last tip, because I know a lot of people that listen to this are my creative finance people, so they like subject twos, they like seller finance. I'm going to share with you a list that's absolutely crushing it for us right now. Go pull a list of MLS sold properties from 2020 to June 2022 in your favorite county. This was during COVID when mortgage interest rates were at their lowest. Now pull another list from the MLS of all failed listings for the last year. So these are people that had listed their property for whatever reason. They backed out or they pulled it off. They decided not to sell. Cross-reference those failed listings with all the people that bought when interest rates were lowest. You're going to have some hits in there. Contact those people. Every month we get at least a couple contracts from this list, because these are people that have showed the intention of, I want to sell, and likely they weren't even presented any kind of creative option. So if you want sub-2 deals, seller finance deals, my favorite 0% interest cash in your bank account Weimer method deals, again, pull a list from 2020 to June 2022 when interest rates were lowest of all MLS sold properties, cross-reference that with any failed listings from the last year and see the matches and contact the heck out of those people. Call them, text them, send them mail, door knock them if you have to. You're going to get at least a few deals from that list. I guarantee it. So in closing, I like to make a lot of money. I hope if you're listening to this, you like to make a lot of money. Don't be that person that waits until the first or second week of January to get your ass started, because you're going to have missed out on separation season, that money making opportunity. We're making lemonade right now. Again, 7 contracts in the last 6 days. It's cold outside, but in the off market space, things are just heating up. So go take massive imperfect action. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.